Hello boys and girls, this is Professor Nelson from Electronics speaking. On this occasion I have this alarm clock, which has a AA battery as a power source, which when it runs out we must throw away. And as a consequence we pollute the environment. Therefore, we will try not to use disposable batteries to avoid contamination. Instead, we are going to update our alarm clock so that it uses another power supply, such as cell phone chargers that are no longer in use, with their respective USB cable, whether they are Type-C or micro USB. So I invite you to stay until the end of the video so you can see and learn how to update our alarm clock or other electronic equipment so that it can work through two power supplies, either through the cell phone charger or through its battery. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, for this modification we are going to need the following material. Two common red LEDs of the smallest you can find. I'll explain why it's red right away. A resistance of 1 kilo ohm of 1/4 watt. A Type-C connector. Now these types of connectors are difficult to handle. Therefore, I advise you to get the following connector. This connector is much easier to handle as it allows us to have access to the positive and the negative. It can be micro USB or USB Type-C. Well, this would be all the material we need to modify our alarm clock. Now let's move on to the theory. Okay, guys, the theory is as follows. First, we have a cell phone charger. Our cell phone charger will give us 5 volts, both positive and negative. However, our alarm clock needs 1.5 volts. And there are alarm clocks that require 3 volts, others that require 4.5 volts. But this time I need 1.5 volts. So, how do I reduce 5 volts to 1.5 volts? Well, there are many ways to do it. The first would be to use a voltage regulator, like this one here, which can give you 1.5 volts at its output. The connections would be as follows. It would enter at 5 volts, and it would come out at 1.5 volts, and this would be negative. And we would connect this to our alarm clock. However, not everyone has this, so we are going to discard it. Another way would be to use common diodes. This is a 1 amp diode that can withstand 1000 volts in reverse, which is more than enough for this project. However, we can use it. Now how will we use this diode? Well, in the following way. Remember that each diode requires 0.7 volts to be able to work. Therefore, On them or on the diode there will be 0.7 volts. So the sum of all the diodes will give us 3.5 volts as the voltage necessary to activate the 5 diodes. Therefore, at the output we will only have 1.5 volts. Regarding negative, we can connect this to our alarm clock. However, using 5 of these is an exaggeration. So we are going to see another method. LED diodes work in the same way as common diodes. However, they require a higher voltage. In the case of red LEDs, they need 1.8 volts. Therefore, only 2 LED diodes are needed to achieve a reduction of 3.6 volts. We place the resistor with respect to negative. The 1 kilo ohm, and in each LED there will be 1.8 volts. The sum will give us 3.6. On the resistor there will be 1.4 volts. This positive voltage we connect to our alarm clock. And this would be the negative. This would be the simplest circuit to be able to reduce the voltage of 5 volts. And you can use it to be able to feed electronic equipment that requires 3 volts, or 4.5 volts. Well, without further ado, let's put together this circuit. Very well, the first thing we are going to do is to find the appropriate place to be able to install our micro USB connector. So we are going to uncover the alarm clock. Well, there you can see the space it has. It has space on the sides. However, you have to be very careful with these columns. So the most appropriate place would be at the bottom, because it has nothing here. So we are going to place it here. That is to say that we have to make a hole here so that the connector can fit in. So we are going to mark it and make the holes. Good, it is ready. You can see how the connector went in. And now what is left is to glue it well so that it does not move. So let's apply a little glue. But first we have to place the 2 LED diodes in series together with the resistor, just as the circuit indicates. We put the 2 diodes in series with the resistor towards negative. So let's make those connections first. First we remove the 2 cables, both positive and negative. Then we are going to cut the LEDs in this way. In one of them we are going to cut the positive shorter than the negative. In the other LED, we are going to cut the negative shorter than the positive. Well, we are going to use the holes to place the LEDs. Positive terminal. Positive with negative. We connect the resistor to the negative. The negative of the LED with the resistor terminal. Very well. We already have our micro USB connector ready. The connections would be the following. Negative is still negative. Positive would be this terminal, the one of the resistor. Therefore, between this point and negative, we would have to have 1.5 volts, which we are going to connect to our alarm clock. But before connecting it and putting the glue on it, we are going to do the test with the multimeter and verify that the voltage between negative and this pin is 1.5 volts, or approximately. So let's move on to verification. We power the board. We measure the voltage across the resistor. We can see that we get 1.34 volts. That would be the voltage to power our alarm clock. So this would be negative, and this would be positive. We're going to put two wires, black on the negative and red on the positive. Okay, our micro USB connector is ready. Now let's install it on our alarm clock. Very well. Now we are going to put glue everywhere except in this metal area. Otherwise, your connector or charger will not be able to connect. So let's put the glue on it. Very well. Once the glue has dried, we are going to solder the positive cable and the negative cable to the positive and to the negative of the battery holder. We put a little soldering paste. Very well. We have already soldered the positive and the negative. Now let's assemble our alarm clock. Well, Now we have our alarm clock ready. There we have the USB connector. So let's go on to do the tests and see if our alarm clock works. Very well, guys. Let's test our updated alarm clock. There we can see that we already have our connector. Well, we are going to use a common charger. We can see that we have a light indicator. And our alarm clock is working correctly. And not only can it work with the charger, but it can also continue to work with the battery. Okay, so our little alarm clock is now updated. Well guys, this is how the video ends. And if you like the video, don't forget that a like helps the channel a lot. Well, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.